Excellent. Hi, everybody. Good morning. My name is Renee Marshall, and I'm representing California Community College Teacher Preparation Programs. I've been involved with CCC-TPP for 14 years now, which is awesome because I actually have twins that are 14 years old. So I've gone from my kids being babies to my daughter is now 14 years old and in a college and career education pathway class. And so life is very full circle right now. I'm excited for ACTEP and TPP to be coming together because our goal in bringing our organizations together quarterly is about planning strategically and doing what we can to elevate teacher preparation throughout the state of California. So Steve and I and everybody who's on, we greatly appreciate you being here today. We've got a robust meeting plan, so I will go ahead and say, I'll mute myself for now. But thank you everybody for being here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And I'm trying to fix my screen to go back to the agenda here. I got too many windows open. Okay, so we hope this meeting is informative as well as dialogue between all of us, because there's a lot going on. I want to share information, but also receive information from you, because you don't get a lot of time to spend collectively as a state gathering together and sharing information. So that is our goal today, is to both share information and receive information and hear what's going on from you and some of your concerns related to some of these issues that we will be talking about. And we have a other item right down here at the bottom here for some time. And I'm hoping it won't go the entire 2 hours of just all talking, but hoping spending time, again, also just sharing information as well. So I guess we first wanted to start off with information that's kind of a little bit more heavy in terms of just like knowledge, start the meeting a little earlier in terms of like depth of information. So we'll start with some advocacy and legislative issues. And I can't see who's in the room, but Renee, do you want to start with 2A? And then if there's anyone else, like Kathleen is in the room, or good. Kate Brown or others?
Yeah. I don't want to weigh into it. Like, yeah, but I it's not even that I can pass on the weighing in.
Oh, I think we might have somebody unmuted. If you don't mind muting, unless you'd like to talk, that'd be great. We know that people are definitely double tasking. We know how that happens. So Steve, should I go straight into the Academic Senate resolution?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. Everybody, I put in the Early Childhood Education EDU academic resolution into the chat, so everybody has a copy of it. Many of you have been part of this process. Thank goodness Kathleen White has been a leader for us in this area, and Kate Brown has been so supportive and fantastic, and so we appreciate them. There was an Academic Senate resolution that was crafted a while ago that has officially gone through, that is helping to recognize EDU and early childhood education under the umbrella of teacher preparation. The Academic Senate resolution is asking that we not only be identified as an industry sector, but as a leader in terms of workforce development for California. There's some great data points within that resolution. If you haven't had a chance to read it yet, please do. The resolution also is asking for leadership at the Chancellor's office representing our industry sector, and really basically elevating what we do so it's in the forefront of our entire system. And so we ask that people look at that Academic Senate resolution. We ask that you share it with leadership on your campus. We want them to know that Academic Senate is supporting what we are doing in teacher preparation. And so if anybody has any questions about it, please let me know. Kathleen was the lead author on it, but a lot of us contributed to the development of it. And we're very proud of what is being moved forward, or what has been moved forward. And now it's our charge to let it be known on our campuses across the state. And so if anybody wants any support with that, please let us know. But it's really putting us in the right direction to get us lined up for funding opportunities and to really streamline what we're doing across our programs and across our schools. And so anyways, please check it out when you have a chance. And you know what, great question, Nadia. We do not have specific language when we share it with, or we have not crafted specific language yet. If you would like us to do that, we are happy to do so, if that would be easier. But basically, we just want to get the word out about what's going on in teacher preparation in California, and how we have support from our Academic Senate. Thanks, Steve.
And I could just share anecdotally, we at Santa Ana College, we shared the resolution prior to going to the spring plenary, asked our Senate to vote on it. And then after it was approved, I actually then used the resolution to seek local funding for a strong workforce for our future educators pathways at Santa Ana College. And so it was interesting because in the proposal materials that were provided to applicants for our local SWP, they only included, they include the economic factors, right? And so oftentimes ECE and EDU are not part of the list of those, high demand, high salary wages, and we know why. But yet I was able to use the document and also to really pinpoint that, the need for teachers is specifically required for and not only the economic recovery, but also the social and emotional recovery of our state through the pandemic, right? And so teachers were essential workers during the whole pandemic, and we are seeing, and STIRS is reporting, large amounts of teachers who are opting for retirement sooner than normal. And with all the initiatives related to the governor's budget, related to expanding teacher preparation, all those kinds of things, I was able to use also this resolution to help get funding and receive funding for our EDU and ECE pathways at Santa Ana College as well. So use it to advocate for yourselves on your own campuses, and try to use whatever leverage that you can, and then hopefully statewide we get more traction as well.
Steve, would you mind some of the verbiage that you use, maybe to email it or put it in the chat at some point if possible? Maybe email it to the group. So here's a sample of what I said on this context, and that'd be great if you already have it, and it was effective.
Yeah. If anyone wants to, email me as well, because I can do that. I mean, I'm not as skilled to be able to pull up a document and drop it into the chat while I'm doing and leading the meeting. But if we get to a pause, if we get to a pause, I'll be happy to do it. So
great, thank you.
The next thing I wanted to share with you is 2B, and this is again related to legislation that has been in the works for a couple of years now, but it seems like it's gaining momentum. There's two bills that are being put forward: AB 437 CALRA, and at AB 312 Serato, who's sponsoring the bill. They were actually in the legislative agenda last year, but they did not get passed because of everything related to COVID. But they are moving forward, and they are gaining momentum, and it doesn't seem that they're going to have any opposition. Will probably be enacted. The two bills, they're also in the trailer bill for the budget. So if the governor signs the budget and everything goes through, then these will actually be enacted as starting as early as I can't remember if it's June 1st or July 1st, and maybe Kim Sakimoto would, if it's July 1st or June 1st, but this year, right, very soon. And so both of these bills do significant things related to both CBEST and CSET preparation. And again, I have some knowledge of this, and if people have deeper knowledge, we want to hear about it. I'll talk about the first one, AB 312, related to CBEST. What that one does is allows mixing and matching of subject matter competency or basic skills competency, reading, writing, and math that normally the CBEST covers. What it would allow is students who could use college coursework in English composition, college level math, and college level critical thinking or reading to meet the requirements for the CBEST, and the CBEST would eventually then go away. Yeah, I see Michael cheering, yes. So that makes a lot of sense. Our students are already doing this college work. Why make them pay for another test? So that one hopefully will go through without any opposition. And the language of the bill actually says that they identify college level English, college level math, and college level critical thinking. And we just hope those are the same college level courses that align to Gen Ed. Thank you. And then the second one is a little bit more exciting, and also to be more transformative. So the CSET bill also allows mixing and matching of subject matter preparation and tests. So what that would mean is that when the student is preparing to become either a multiple subject or a single subject teacher and needs to meet subject matter preparation, they could use a combination of subtests of the CSET or coursework. And that's a big change because right now, as you know, with most programs, it's like all or nothing, right? The student has to complete the entire subject matter preparation program, like a still liberal studies program, to receive the waiver. And if they deviate or don't take the right courses, or then they don't gain the benefit of completing the waiver program. So this one it's a bit more complicated, but I think it has a lot of potential for us and in community colleges, because if you think of way just the multiple subject CSAT and the different chunks that's required, the social sciences and the humanities, the math and science, and then the PE and the other area. If you think about where our students might get stuck, right, the math and science, this means that there could be a way to piecemeal together math and science courses that could waive them from the CSAT, right? And maybe not even have to do a full liberal studies program. They could choose a child development program, right? And still get access to the CSAT. So I think it has a lot of implications. What is happening now is the bill is moving through the process. The CTC has created a group of stakeholders who are also looking at the bill and looking at implementation of how it would work. But what's absent is community colleges. I have emailed, I actually emailed the CTC about this, and I just got a response back from Mary Sandy, the executive director of the CTC, and she's willing to engage in conversations with the community colleges about how this might impact lower division preparation in teacher preparation as well. So I'm excited about that, about the opportunity to step into the conversation related to this bill and how it might be implemented, how it could benefit our students, and definitely looking for other people who are interested in this type of, in looking at the bill and being able to work with the CTC to create regulations that work for community college transfer students. So that's exciting news, and hopefully the conversations and the inclusion of us in this process will help our students, because the way they're looking at it now is they're basically looking at as when the candidate is ready to enter the credential program, how can we patch together subject matter competency instead of looking at the front end of, as we do with students, looking forward at the head of the process, and how do we help them navigate becoming subject matter competent before they arrive at the doorstep of the credential program. So
in relation when the time's right.
Go ahead. I'll pull up there for questions or comments or other information that people may know.
Okay, great. One of the things I just want to call everybody's attention to is I'm always a little skeptical with some of these things that go through, because they're meant to help our students, but sometimes they end up setting up other boundaries. So the more people we can have involved, the better. I think about when No Child Left Behind came in, which I know that dates me right there, but quite a few of us on here are dated and remember No Child Left Behind, right? So No Child Left Behind came in, and suddenly people who had taken program competency versus the test competency were no longer considered qualified teachers. I had a friend who specifically went to a certain program so she could avoid the multiple subject test, and then 5 years later, she was told she was no longer a qualified teacher. So when there's legislation that comes in that's trying to assist our students with these requirements, it's really important that we're there for the discussion and make sure that those safety nets are put in, so after the fact, years later, people don't get messed up and they don't get screwed, excuse my language. And so the more people on this, the better, Steve. And I love that you're already talking with Sandy. Have you talked with any of the policy groups that are helping to push this forward? And if so, let's stay in touch with that, so we can kind of tag team it and make sure that we're not, over-inundating them with too much.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So the CTC is actually sponsoring this one. And so I know they're working directly with the legislator's office and other stakeholders to help craft it and move it through. And so hopefully working directly with them, that will help communicate kind of what the needs are in terms of how it works for all of us, and not just the small limited group of students, of participants or candidates that they're looking for it to work. And you're right, these other extraneous factors are important to consider in these processes. But I think for now, at least getting the position of looking at community college students in the pathway and what they have to endure now, and not making it more complicated than it needs to be. Great. Thank you. The next item up, I think, is 2C. And again, feel free to email me. I'm getting a few messages of people who are interested in this, which is great. So feel free to email me or message me if you're interested also. The third one, 2C, is just, yes, go ahead.
Sorry. This is Keisha from Orange Coast College. Good morning, everybody. Sorry, I'm having some Wi-Fi issues. But I put in the chat, I don't know, since you're talking about if this is a good time or not, but since you're talking about bills and so on, I did put in the chat a fact sheet on AB 740. It's the foster youth bill for stopping the suspensions and expulsions of foster youth without going through their social workers or going through their adoptive families, etc. So it's being sponsored by SDSU, Dr. Wood, and several advocates in San Diego and others. Peach is looking at it. We're reviewing it right now. We more than likely will write a support statement. It also has been stuck, and they're asking people to get in touch with McCarty and asking him to bring it to the floor for discussion. So I put it in if you're interested. There is some good information out about it.
So thank you, Keisha. Yeah, I'm opening it now. Looks like it has the Assemblyman's name on it and some information. Okay, great. Yeah. So
Keisha, throw it out there. By chance, it would be great if we could maybe bring it up to the Joint Coalition in Early Childhood also, because if we could have it that we have Peach, Tri-CECE, OER ZTC, and CCC-TPP supporting, and then if ACTEP also reviews and supports, I mean, the more the better. So yeah, I don't know if Peach wants to consider doing a joint. I don't know.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna throw it out there, Keisha. If we want to do that, I'm sure we could get the other people in the rest of the collaborative to be involved. So let me know your.
Absolutely.
Renee, I think it's on the agenda actually for discussion already.
Absolutely. We moved it to next month's meeting. Tony, how you doing? I hope you're feeling better. But I know Cindy from Tri-CECE does know about it, and I believe she will be part of our conversation. So the more the merrier. We're on it. Let's do it.
Well, and our foster youth need us. So I love that this is here right now, because our programs do not get enough support for foster families and foster parents. And so the more we can do to advocate for those foster students and make sure they have the proper people in line, especially during those disciplinary issues, the better. So let's all work together on this. This is great.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Keisha. Appreciate that. Yes. Feel free if you have any other things that you are hearing about or need support or percolating that you would like to share. Feel free to do that. Because the next item is 2C. Is basically I just wanted to just make people aware that there is a bill moving forward, AB 520. It's a grant project or a grant program, a grant funded program to the Department of Education. It was initially titled Teacher Recruitment, which was really trying to recruit more diverse students into the teaching profession, which would have been very much aligned with what we do in our work. It's administered by the Department of Education and working collaboratively with the CSUs, but it's switched focus a little bit. It's switched focus from recruitment to retention. And so it's interesting that they made that twist, and I wasn't quite sure and I was trying to find out why they made that switch to retention, because how we're going to retain teachers who don't exist yet in the profession, who are retaining. If we need more African-American males in teaching, we need to recruit and provide support through that process. And I mean, retention is important, but I'm not sure why they would focus the bill very specifically on that. So interesting. But if anyone has any leads in terms of the legislator that's leading that one, or even with the Department of Ed, I know Renee that you may do work with them with their office. If we can get any input into that, to how community colleges can participate in the funding should it be enacted, that would be wonderful as well. And then the other thing I wanted to share was that you probably have already seen, many of you have already seen the governor's budget that may revise funding that is been proposed for teacher preparation for a lot of different areas. And so I think I have the budget summary here linked. This does not include ECE. This is mostly I think a lot of it's the teacher prep stuff. I know there's other work that's going to be done with TK and early childhood, but these were the type of dollars that were set up for K-12 schools. So teacher residencies, the Golden State grant program, teacher grants, $100 million to promote the already existing, it's been for a while, these classified employees to credential teachers programs, and for several years, community colleges had been a part of those programs, but they haven't been. More recently, it's only been the schools. This roadmap to pre-K. So I think this might be the stuff that's earmarked for the ECE folks, because this is, again, not really my area, and maybe someone could speak to this funding, the $65.5 million here, and then a fee waiver for credential students, and then something about prop funding for students who receive, computer science, teaching computer science. So I just wanted to make people aware that these things, those budget things are happening now, and they're in discussion in committees. And this is the time now to begin, if you know offices or committee members, to begin lobbying for how community colleges can play a bigger role in this work and to get funding. So I'll stop there and see if there's anybody has any more knowledge about the governor's budget, if there's any advocacy efforts that are ongoing that we can jump in and support, or have any other information.
It's heavy. I can probably share a few things that Peach has been talking about regarding the early childhood portion. And as you can imagine, there's lots of dialogue that's happening. We are excited that we do, I'll say finally, have a governor that's paying attention to early childhood and understanding the importance of the not only the first 5 years, but from birth to 8, which is what child development encompasses and covers. We would like to see more collaboration with the community colleges, since the students and most of the people, not everybody, but quite a few of the professionals that are coming into the field, and even professionals moving into TK-12 and other sectors, start in child development or early childhood. So we would like to see that stronger and more of a partnership. There needs to be some bridges there that need to be built. Some of them might be wood, some might be cement, but we need to build more bridges. The other question that we have that we didn't see, but something for others to think about and begin to start questioning is, so we know that there's a push for the TK to be permanent, and many districts are looking at the 3-year-olds now, but the question is, so those 3-year-olds have been in programs throughout California, very good quality programs, state preschool, family childcare, etc. So if you begin to take the 3-year-olds and then take the rest of the 4-year-olds, so the programs that are left, whether they be private, school, public, etc. So now they have to pivot, but that pivot is going to cost some money. So imagine a school that has preschoolers even at a 1-to-8 ratio, let's say in AEYC ratio, at a 1-to-8 ratio, in a classroom that holds, let's say, 16 to 24 children with the appropriate amount of teachers and so on, now has to go to 2-year-olds. So 2-year-old ratio, I don't know the last time you've been around a 2-year-old, although my 10-year-old is 8, she's 10 now, but I remember her being 2 very clearly. And fortunately, we were at a lab school with a 1-to-5 ratio, quality teachers, student teachers, etc. The room had 15 children in it. The furniture and materials alone for the younger children, toddlers, 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds, etc., is very different. So I would like to, what we're saying is, this is one of those unintended consequences possibly that we really need to pay attention to. So it's definitely something to look at, talk to, for those of you who have child development folks around you, talk to your child development folks. Peach is definitely looking at this, and we have already begun some conversations. We also, AB 22, I believe it is, Tony, we also have had some questions about and currently have decided not to support it unless it has some changes to it. And Tony, please chime in. And so that's just some food for thought. There's other things as well. I'll give you the table, Tony.
I think you're speaking directly to me, but I don't have anything else to add to it other than I think most of the people on this call, or hopefully, are aware the concerns of expansion younger and younger, and what that means for the K-12 system as well as the ECE systems, right, that have been in place and have had high quality programs for a long time.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, and Tisha, I agree. I mean, we need to build the bridge, right? In terms of teacher preparation in early childhood and K through 12. That we need, particularly the community colleges, need to make that connection as well. So because all these issues impact our students, because you're right, they don't come in stamped with a setting on their head when they arrive at our campus. They come in, they want to become an educator, and we try to prepare them to work in the best setting that's going to work for them, and that could include a pathway that takes a student who wants to become a elementary school teacher, not through liberal studies, but through a child development program, right? Or maybe a student starts in a child development program and then wants to bridge into elementary education, which I know happens quite a bit. My own sister did that pathway. How do we make all those connections work for our students? But yeah, the bigger issues you're talking about in terms of how the operations of schools work and these pivoting, that's really big. And so yeah, we'll definitely take and figure out how we can help in advocating or figuring out how that happens. That's a big shift. So but yeah, thank you for bringing that up. And again, not sure quite yet. Let us know how we can help, others can help, right, in terms of creating a bridge or helping advocate for whatever positions we need to support our students.
Steve, can I chime in for just 1 second about this?
Yeah.
Because the advocating on this one, it's going to have to be mighty, everybody. And I'm saying that because think about when TK through 12 opened up TK. I was a preschool teacher, but I used to also be a kindergarten teacher. And I know what happened in my community. It was like, oh, well, it's another year of kindergarten. It was not any discussion of how is this different than kindergarten? How is this different with 4-year-olds versus 5-year-olds? We have to remember that people who are elementary school teachers are not usually getting many child development classes. So to them, a TK with a 3 and a TK with a 4 might be the same thing. And so I really think we need to be thinking about what is that investment for those 3- and 4-year-old classrooms. And I know we're talking about bridging ECE and EDU, but I think also part of this is having our ECE people have an opportunity to have conversations with the EDU people as they're planning and get on those committees and whatnot. And maybe it's more of a grassroots versus a statewide, I'm not sure exactly. But what Tony and Keisha are talking about here is when we brought TK to the K through 12 system, we made TK fit into the system versus creating a space that was intentionally created for TK. And when we're looking at even younger children here, it's going to be even more vulnerable. And so what does that look like for 3-year-olds? Because guess what, everybody? TK through 12 is expanding. Please do not think that it's not, or that somehow we can stop them. Right now, they are turning into a much larger system that's going to include our early care in a very different way. And so I'm so glad that we have some very strong leaders who are on the call right now who are already doing some work. But Steve, we really need to band together with ECE and EDU because the issues that we are facing are now, they're both systems. You know what I mean? Our system really is becoming one. So anybody who's doing work, if we can be of help, TPP, ACCTEP, whoever you want at the table, you call us and we'll be there. And whatever we can do to support, because we know, I mean, as somebody who's taught preschool and kindergarten, they're two very different things, and we need to respect the children where they are, as opposed to having the children fit our system. Our system's not equipped yet for it.
Thank you, Renee. Absolutely. It sounds like some other folks are with us, and I absolutely agree. Just so you know, I just heard yesterday that LAUSD, which we know is the second largest district in the United States, and it feels like the world sometimes, they are doing some great things, and they've just decided that, I believe it's for this coming fall, that all of the transition kindergarten classrooms will only be transition kindergarten classrooms. Because keep in mind, a lot of districts, this happened in my district at Long Beach Unified, and they're not doing it anymore, but a lot of districts, they took the TK and then they were like, we don't have enough children to have a whole class. So we're gonna do TKK. So with one teacher and 30 kids, which if those children would have stayed in early childhood, they would be out of compliance and they would be shut down by licensing. So, you know, which is a whole nother conversation. But so it's great that they're going to split them and actually give them their own space. So now TK will have its own TK classrooms and its own teachers, which should have at least been the very minimum, gotten the 24 units of child development because that was made law. However, districts were allowed to grandfather people and they were allowed to accept experience from people. So which, as we all know, that could be great and it can be terrible all at the same time, right? And so there's a lot to unpack, there's a lot to uncover, there's a lot of conversation. It's like an onion, and every time you continue to cut the onion and you get another layer off, it's another layer, and it starts to kind of like, ooh, does this taste good or does it smell? Is it rotten? Like, what's happening?
Thank you. Excellent. Yeah, thanks. Great points, Keisha. I mean, it's a big shift and a lot of players and a lot of things that are happening. So, I mean, yeah, I can see it too. Was there one point in time the state was talking about dividing the multiple subject credential into like pieces?
There's an early care credential that is part of all of this. That's
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Nadia made a really good point in the chat. I have a concern about the focus on preschool and not childcare, and that creating a dangerous message. Because if you, depending on how things are branded in the K through 12 system, it might be like, here's an early start to kindergarten.
right.
Here's for the learning loss that happened in the pandemic. We're going to make sure all of our younger kids get caught up. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it's branded. And we got to watch it, and we got to track it, and we got to get as many of us in positions of power, you guys. We got to get some of us moving out of the classroom and out of our campuses and into political positions in our state. I know I keep saying that, but we've got to. So we've got to start looking at our talent and figuring out who's wanting to do that in the next 5 years, because we don't have enough advocacy at the leadership level, at the statewide level. We need to put ourselves there is what needs to happen.
Thanks. Kathleen?
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Nice to see you all. I know you're not seeing me, but I'm here. I just had another comment. Two things. One, I noticed you mentioned the ECE-EDU resolution, and I'll put the link in the chat to that. That was an earlier agenda item. And for this TK discussion, just to also think about, I'm on a after-school Excel committee, and you know, if we have transitional kindergarten with the typical format of the typical school day, these young children will need to go to after school. And after school is not, I don't want to say is not prepared, but hasn't thoroughly thought about or been informed of how they will combine 4-year-olds with kindergartner, first, second, third, fifth grade, sixth grade. You know, these are in many cases mixed groups. And I think we also have to think of how appropriate is it for 4-year-olds to be cared for after school and before school in maybe a mixed group room with 10-year-olds and 9-year-olds. Will their needs be met? Will their toileting issues be met? I mean, I'm just thinking of range of, 4-year-old behaviors that they might need napping, they may need help eating. So how are our after school programs going to manage that? And I think that's a big concern. And that's where the difference between developmentally appropriate preschool and then the school day really sits, is how do you have a full day of appropriate care with a major transition really into a program that I think it's hard to combine kindergartners right now in after school because their needs are different. So just another thing to think about as we move into this world. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathleen. And yeah, we talked about the resolution and we did put it in the chat, but it would be great if you drop it in again. That would be awesome. So other folks that maybe arrived after we started get that as well. Okay, thank you. So Yeah, so that ends item number 2. Renee, you want to start with item number 3?
Sure. Actually, since Kathleen's on, I don't want to speak, and Rachel's not able to be here today. Rachel and Deanna have a conflict at Ventura. Rachel's the lead of the early childhood education community practice. Kathleen, do you want to say anything before I start, or I wasn't sure if you were going to be on, so I don't like speak ahead if you would like to, but if so,
no, that's fine. Tell me the agenda item.
It's just an update on the ECE-COP.
Oh, you go ahead.
Okay, great. The ECE-COP today, we're meeting later on today. We have a joint collaboration with Peach, Tri-C ECE, and OER ZTC. And so we're meeting later on today. We've actually been meeting this for a while now. It's been a great group. We're working on West Ed has rolled out this project that they are working on where they are creating some early childhood classes or class to put online to be focusing and serving a certain population. Anyways, there's some disequilibrium with what's being proposed right now. And so our groups have been coming together to meet with that West Ed to talk to them about, just some suggestions on how we think that project should move forward. We're very lucky that our part of the ECE-COP gets to meet with other ECE leads across the state and across our systems in order to say, how do we feel about what's going on and how do we advocate moving forward together, which has been great. I want to let everybody know that the COPs, both ECE and EDU, are talking about having a retreat this summer where we can flesh out what the COPs will look like moving forward. We've gotten feedback from the participants of the COPs, and we really want to make sure that what we craft for the next school year is relevant and is useful to everybody who's involved. The COPs, as some know, but not everybody know, when they were first created at the beginning of the pandemic, we thought they were going to be a series of 3 meetings where we would come in, brainstorm, come up with some solutions, and then kind of wrap it up and be done. And I love that Alice just said this in the chat. The COPs have been invaluable to our faculty over the last year. The COPs have turned into something that we had no idea when we came up with this idea, how cool the community would be and how essential it's been during the pandemic. And so please anticipate that the COPs are going to continue in one form or another. We're really excited to come together for a retreat to just kind of plan what the future looks like. I do want everybody to know within the early childhood COP, we are actually this summer going to be focusing some time on creating a Canvas Common Shell to be focusing on practicum resources. We know that majority of everybody's trying to go back to face-to-face in the spring, but that it will be limited. And so we want to continue developing online content and resources for faculty that they can transfer over and use right away. The ECE-COP has developed a great website, and now we're just going to take it to another step and create the Canvas Commons. We also have quite a few different social media platforms, which has been great. We're getting a good amount of traction on those. And one thing really exciting, I haven't had a chance to share it with the joint collaboration yet. I will later today. But earlier this week, Rachel and I had the opportunity to meet with the CEO of NAEYC. She had heard about the work that we're doing with the COPs and wanted to know a little bit about more of what's going on in California. And so it was a great honor to meet with her. It turns out that she's been doing interviews across the United States with higher ed leaders, and she had only met with a rep from CTC about California. So it was great to be able to share what we know has been going on and to have a frank and honest discussion with her. Another thing that was awesome too is we of course sent a follow-up email saying, here's our joint organization. We'd love if at some point you could come talk with us, or please know that we're here to be a resource for you. And she was great. She wrote back right away and said, hey, I'd love to come and talk with everybody in June. And she might even be at our statewide conference in August as well. So it's always great when we can make connections with people who are leading in our industry. And to be, as somebody who's been an ECE faculty and a department chair, I was literally giddy walking into the meeting with her because NAEYC, it's been part of my life for like past 30 years of my development as an educator. So anyways, we've got great things going on in the ECE-COP. Please know that meetings will continue and that they are 100% inclusive. If you're not even early childhood, it doesn't matter. Come and join us. If you've got skin in the game and you want to be part of the community is here for you. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Megan now, who's going to specifically talk about the education community of practice and give a quick update on that.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us. Shannon and I are both here to kind of give a quick update about the education fieldwork course community of practice. So there's Shannon. long story short, in this community practice, as Renee said, we developed, a year and a half ago, right? As a response to the pandemic, shifting education course fieldwork requirements to a virtual setting. And so our goal was to come together as education course faculty of these fieldwork courses to develop this alternative. What our group did, which now the ECE community practice is replicating, is we started with developing a Canvas Commons project. This was a shell course. Shannon and I and a team of volunteers assisted from our COP, so a voluntary group of lots of folks, to create this COP kind of resource that all of you can access on the CCC-TPP website. Shannon is actually working on an additional project at her campus. So Shannon, do you also want to talk about your education course project that's coming soon?
Sure, yes. So I'm actually, again, I think Rosemary said it best, we work best in communities. So I am working with Fresno City and Clovis Community, and the three of us together, education instructors, are developing a complete OEI course. So we're taking our OER concept and developing within that course an entirely fully online intro to ed course. That includes all the ancillaries, components, and assessments as we're developing, all based on the OER content. And I just got a new update on a new course or a new book that's out. I was so excited this week and I just sent it to Megan. So continuing to find new resources and developing, and love that there is so much new relevancy available for our intro to ed course. So we're gonna make this as best as we can, and I am including all of the content from the Canvas Commons project within this course, specifically because this fall we're still going to be somewhat online. So I'm really going to try to focus in on an area, a module in this course as well, with supporting instructors with developing MOUs and contracts with our K-12 partners and what that looks like. We're constantly fighting an uphill battle there because depending on where we're at, our university have first priority over a community college. So really kind of showing some ways that we could get some work in there and highlight some of the community college opportunities that we bring to the table. So I'm hoping that it ends up being a great opportunity for faculty to have the resources available to run an entire semester from.
Yes, so thank you. Our team also includes Kathleen White and Michael Wicker and others, and of course Renee. And we're just so glad that it's been able to continue. We are looking into what should it look like next year. So we do anticipate, as Shannon just said, a lot of us going in person, but some of us remaining allowed as long as the CSU permits it for articulation reasons. We do anticipate being able to use virtual fieldwork in the fall still. And maybe that'll end in the spring. So we want to share these updates, and we'll include folks on our listserv so that they can get the current Canvas Commons project, which, in case I wasn't clear, includes basically a video library of wonderful videos that students could watch instead of in-person fieldwork when that's not allowed or permitted or available. And they're divided into categories of different grade level, like clusters, subject areas, special education, and other resources like YouTube educators, not quite at the TikTok level yet, y'all. But long story short, it's a really valuable resource. Some of the meetings we've held this semester include things like talking about graduation regalia. We now have a model, if anyone would like to have it, of what that could look like if you have funding to use next year in anticipation of the next graduations. We also have recently met about apprenticeships, where Kathleen White, one of our Ed COP group leads, was able to kind of showcase her college's project, and we'll have a lot more on this topic in the future. So look for a poll if you're on our listserv, and if you're not, you can let us know in the chat and we'll add you, because we want to see what folks need. We don't want to, create unnecessary meetings. We want to address things that are needed in the field, and we look forward to seeing what folks are in need of in the future, as well as what we're talking about soon with working with our ACTEP regional caucuses and leads as well. So
Megan,
thank you
I'm going to
so much.
drop that those graduation
Awesome.
resource links in the chat, just so everybody knows too. We had via promotions, like this is a group that I've worked with many years. It's a small local business. And so they created samples of what Antelope Valley's program would look like. And so when you pop it up, you're going to see like the AVC logo within the TPP Apple. It was just like a sample little kind of graphic we were looking at. So even though it says for Antelope Valley College, which is a great participant in TPP, ACTEP, and everything, please know that it is for anyone. And if anybody ever wants to reach out to this company, if I can be of help, let me know. As I've said, I've worked with them for over 10 years and they're super competitive pricing wise. So there's some pictures of different Apple like pins that you might want or stoles that you might want in the future. Good to know also as we are ending the end of this fiscal year. So if suddenly there's an extra pot of $500, you can go ahead and get, maybe just always have something on the docket in case any money ends up being left over in June that you can utilize. I'm always
Awesome.
ready to
Thank
spend.
you. And I think we're going to try to pop that Canvas Commons with the virtual fieldwork and other resources in the chat now. And Shannon's going to update our listserv in the future once her campus project is complete. Thank you, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you for all of your amazing work, all of you on these amazing communities. So the next item is our colleague, Dr. Rosemary Wren at Cuesta College. Renee, do you want to introduce her or would you like me to?
Either way is good with me, Steve.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, our great colleague at Rosemary at Cuesta College has worked diligently to create a course now that actually qualifies for the new CSU Ethnic Studies General Education requirement. And she's here to share that with us. So Dr. Wren.
Hi, everyone. And really excited to share with you a little bit about what we've accomplished over at Cuesta. It definitely took a team to get it done. And I'm working on an article that will come out in the next issue of the ACTEP newsletter. I was actually just speaking with the student yesterday who I want to talk about. And this is just a real quick overview, but the call for ethnic studies at Cuesta College has gone on for several years, actually starting a long time before I was anywhere around. And so because of student, I want to say agitation, because that's what it is, it was student activism, we were kind of, you know, the whispering had gone on and there are a certain group of people that were really interested in exploring this. And then when the CSU requirement got passed in the summer, it kind of lit a fire under us to get things underway. And the problem with the timing was that we didn't have, it was to start in fall 21, right? For people entering in 21, which meant that if we wanted a course, we had to write it immediately. And I had a little bit of inside help from the CSUs, just kind of clarifying along the way, because I have a friend who works in the chancellor's office and I'm like, is this the final version? Because before we started working on it, we wanted to know what we were building from. So basically, our division, Applied Behavioral Sciences, got 2 courses from scratch that we built based off of the 5 core competencies that the Cal State system has put into place. And never having tried to write a course for this, you know, to both pass the community college and the CSUs before, I was like, well, if we wanted to articulate with Area F, then I'm going to just write it off the Area F. So that's where I started with the one for educators. And I've been teaching Ed 200 as a critically conscious approach to teacher preparation. So I already do talk about critical race theory in my education course. But so I was already thinking along those lines, so that I took that and then just starting with the core competencies that the CSU has, then built out the course from there. And again, I had no idea what it was going to take to get it approved through the CSU. So I figured, well, if I design literally the course outcomes based on the competencies, that's the best shot we have. So I I did that, and we got it approved through our curriculum committee at Cuesta College. And the other course that our division put out there is a general like introduction to ethnic studies. All of this is being done with no ethnic studies faculty. So we've been doing our homework and participating in the Community College Ethnic Studies Summit, where they are gracious enough to allow non-ethnic studies faculty to participate and learn. And so we have been soaking up as much as we can. I have some background in it, but not more in the social justice and culturally sustaining pedagogy and anti-racist teaching, but not necessarily in ethnic studies. So learning as much as we can, using the language, trying to keep it as pure to ethnic studies as we can, being that we're co-conspirators, we're not of the discipline. So what we ended up with in the education was a course that is a brief introduction, but then is starting to weave these concepts into how might an educator actually create learning opportunities around these tenets of ethnic studies, looking at specifically the named underrepresented groups, looking at bringing in funds of knowledge from all of the different groups that might be represented in our class, and incorporating that, having the students co-create the curriculum based on their experiences and what's meaningful to them. You know, and because basically the things that make an ethnic studies course strong are the things that would make any course strong. Really looking at our identity, understanding our own identity, how it interacts with other people within the group, understanding the different portions of our identity. And so I've been trying to go to as many webinars that are talking about ethnic studies in the K-12 as well, to see how educators are using them there. And basically this intro class involves, on one level, on the basic level of identifying like what is ethnic studies. Let's make sure we're talking about, we understand the difference between multicultural education and ethnic studies, and understanding and respecting ethnic studies as a discipline. And then using these tenets in like sample learning activities, like how can we amplify these voices that have been erased or obscured through traditional American history and the way that we've learned, not just historically, but how does it influence what we're reading? How does it influence how we learn about math and the vocabulary and the terminology? And then also lifting up these various groups as something more than the victimized people of the country, you know? So bringing in works by authors and scholars in various disciplines, so that our students realize they do have a voice in scholarship, and that they belong in college. And so we are in the midst of a hire for someone to teach this class. And it may turn out that I teach half of the class on the education portion. While my degree is in educational leadership with an emphasis in social justice, I'm not an ethnic studies faculty. I am a white woman. So I will be there kind of as the background person. And we're hoping we have, you know, we're being very particular about making sure we have someone who is actually qualified in this discipline. It's in our MQDD, or our minimum calls for them to be part of it. And so, yeah, so we haven't taught it yet, but it's on paper looking okay. I mean, I think it looks pretty good. There's a lot of, there are 5, I'll share I can share it with you all, because you're welcome to the COR. There's 5.
I put it into the chat already, Rosemary. Rosemary, I dropped it into the chat already.
Oh, you already did? Okay, cool. Yeah, and so you'll notice that there are 5 relatively wordy learning outcomes, but that was in a huge effort to really shout to the CSU, we want to be aligned, you know? And so as it turns out, you only need to meet 3, I think, either 3 or 2 of their oh my gosh, my brain is fried. Their content
standards?
5 standards that they put in their, what do they call it? Oh my God, my brain is fried. So
You have a
anyway,
question also, Rosemary, if you want to take a question, if you want to pull up, you also have a question from someone from Sharon.
from Sharon. Okay.
Sharon has her hand up.
Oh, sure.
Unmute, Sharon.
Okay, so I don't want to get into political argument or a discussion or go into it, but I know that these are all hot topics and with multiple perspectives. So my concern is, when we hear in the news, critical race theory, and instead of saying that, because it means different things to different people, that define what are we saying. And I'm just using an example. Once the Israelis sent me to Germany to do a Holocaust thing about teaching the Holocaust to German kids. So the last thing I ever want to do, or never was a proponent of, is making the kids feel ashamed for what their grandparents may or may not have done. And and I'm seeing so much of this with, white people are this, and and I mean, we have an ugly situation with even the curriculum that was adopted in California for high school. So I want to know where you're going with that, because I think there's a concern, what are we teaching educators?
Absolutely.
What kind of history?
Well, that's absolutely such an important thing for us to be considering. And again, I don't have the expertise in the discipline. I have sought out people who can give us some advice, and it's not just about me. This has been a team. And exactly what you said is 100% right. This is one of the messiest things I can even imagine. I was having this conversation with the student who was really the spark behind this. And there is no one answer, but I think the key is for educators, and what the point that I've been trying to explore with my students is everybody's voice matters. There's not a right answer to a lot of these questions, and that as educators, we need to be willing to do the interrogation into our own practice and into what we're offering students, and be willing that if, when that comes up, because not if it comes up, but when the controversies come up in our classes, that we model critical conversations, we practice critical conversations, and we're okay being wrong and owning it, and there may not be a solution. Because like I was literally staring at my student yesterday, I'm like, so what's the answer here? And we're both going, there isn't one. And it's not, there's no one answer that's going to make everyone happy. There's been great deal of disruption and controversy of what I have followed of the adoption of the model state curriculum. Not everybody is happy with that. I know that. I know people have taken their names off of that because of compromises that have been made. So this is by no means like a cut and dried, here, teach this class. And I think the value in it is to challenge and poke the bear a little bit, and to give our students an opportunity to have these critical conversations, and to not just accept someone handing them a curriculum and saying, here's all the answers, this is all you need to do. So those are,
I mean, I went to, somebody once said, well, ask a Jewish person. You cannot ask a Jewish person. There's 7 different opinions and none of us get along, and the left, the right, the this, the that, bomb you, and this, and I'm seeing it now, what's went on the last 11 days, that the history is so distorted and it's very ugly out, and it's very distressing, and you wouldn't want teachers to not know, the multiple perspectives and to transmit bad history.
Well, and that's why I see this as a course that I can't tell you what it's going to look like, because it's going to take facilitation, and it's going to take being willing to take these chances. But the consequence of not talking about this for the last 400 years is that we have what we have right now. And so I'm trying to prepare my students, hopefully not to get fired the minute they walk in a door, but to be able to look at who's in their classroom and what do the students in that room need, and what are the hard conversations that need to be had, and understanding we won't always have answers to all of them.
Good point, Sharon. And then we have a couple more questions that are coming. We have Veronica with her hand up, and then we have a question in the chat from
I'm gonna put my
Nadia. So
hand
let's
down.
start with Veronica, and then we'll go to the question in the chat. Veronica?
Your hand.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, so I was just curious in terms of for me to understand what this might look like. I'm definitely interested in reading what the COR includes. And I believe that at my campus, as well as in my district, we're still having conversations about are there existing courses that would qualify for what the CSUs, you know, are identifying. And there's still a lot of conversation on whether we need to integrate what the college and curriculum is already doing or existing coursework versus creating an ethnic studies course or, you know, a department. So there's still that conversation going. And I'm interested in two things. One is, would you hire a new faculty member to teach this course? And I think there was questions in the chat box about minimum quals. And also, you know, what has the response been at the local level with, like, I'm trying to imagine as my education program at my campus, if I said, here's a class that we would like to offer, whether there would be departments at our college that might support or be in opposition to it. So I'd like to think of what I could anticipate.
You could anticipate a lot of pushback. And that's just the defensive whiteness and the inherent whiteness that is in our educational system playing out in more ways than you can read in a book. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. It's what I've experienced. And I'm not, again, I'm certain there are people on this call right now who know way more about this than I do. But what I would say is, number one, about the retrofitting a course that already exists. If it's a course that really has a foundation in critical analysis and critical conversations, then it might be something. But what the CSU at least is looking for is authentic representation, is bringing in these voices, is, again, undoing the erasure and the obscurity that people of color and scholars of color have been contributing to the scholarship since we've had thinkers. So the course, it's hard to retrofit a course unless it was already going down that path. So that's one thing. And there will be tons of resistance, because this is the kind of course that is going to examine existing structures and say, these are not working, not only for people of color, for women, for queer, for any identity that is multidimensional. Okay, so, and I don't want to take up a ton of time in this meeting, but this is a really important, if you can't tell, I'm a little passionate about it, a really important topic. And we see it in this group because we see our minoritized students get to college and don't think they belong here. And this is something that if we're teaching teachers to even be able to approach this conversation, we are setting a precedent for the future. I am not qualified to teach this class by myself, okay? Because I don't have a women and gender. I don't have Africana studies. I don't have Chicana studies. I don't have ethnic studies in my repertoire. So what we're looking for is someone for this course who does have those qualifications, who then, like, my skills are in pedagogy and how to build a course, because, like, to me, that's fun. So my skills will come in talking about the actual, like, implementation of what would that look like? What would it look like to do an exercise on identity with 5-year-olds or with 10-year-olds, you know, that kind of thing. It's like, you can't cover it all, but like just an introduction. So we are looking for people who hold these minimum quals. And yeah, and it's a little tricky right now because with the CSU adoption, all of the big schools are hiring full-timers. And so we don't have a room for a full-timer, so we're looking for part-time. But that's a value that we hold very tightly, that we don't feel it's right to offer this class without someone from the discipline. And I don't know what, I probably lost the rest of the questions. Sorry.
No, I think you got it. I believe so. Veronica, did it feel like you answered the question?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean,
Great.
very informative. Trying to
Yeah.
imagine what that conversation would be like. Mhm.
I love
Right.
to stir things up. So if you want help collaborating, I'm right here.
Rosemary, I love that you just said that. I think that's why you and I got along the second we met. We're like, ooh, what can we do?
What bear can I poke next?
This is the shirt. It's called Disruptive Educator.
Oh, I love it.
I need
love
that.
it.
Yeah.
Well, and we need to mention that our beloved Rosemary is no longer just our beloved Rosemary.
Oh, yes, I am.
I'm Dr. Rosemary. Whoop,
Yep.
whoop.
There's
Dr.
that's
Wren.
my crew.
Yay!
Yeah. Sorry, I'm still a little excited. It was just a week ago. I'll take it down, but I'm just enjoying it for the moment.
Keep it up. Keep it up and be
Let it
proud of it.
marinate it.
And let us all be proud of you also. Okay?
Oh,
Keep it
thank
up. Good for you, Rosemary.
Right. Were there any other questions for Dr. Wren on this subject? I know there was one in the chat, and maybe she can respond to it regarding who would teach this course. Nadia, did you want to ask that question out loud or let her answer it in the chat?
Yeah, hi. I just two things. So I am what I mentioned in the chat is that I'm thinking about how we could create such a course similar to yours around ethnic studies for educators. We have only ECE, we don't have EDU for any of our courses. And so I just wasn't sure if we wanted to team teach it, if you know, as long as like the education part. So if I was teaching the education part, and I have my human development master's and I taught it with someone else who had the qualifications to teach ethnic studies, we should be covered. That's kind of my first question.
That's how we tried to set it up, because we realized that someone coming in with ethnic studies might not have the pedagogy underneath it, but yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then I just wanted to say there's a bunch of, as we're talking about this, so the way that we set up our teaching in a diverse society class at my college is we include quite a bit of these things. We talk about, and even just the examples of like, how do you have this conversation with, 3-year-olds? That's what anti-bias education is all about, right? So, but I do really just want to highlight the fact that I appreciate that, many of us may have fairly deep understanding or have kind of dabbled in it, but it is not the same as having someone who has their fullness of background in ethnic studies. And that actually was one of the reasons, because we probably could have made our current class kind of retrofitted for the ethnic studies piece, but we really felt like we would have been, for me, that felt like a way around what the purpose of having an ethnic studies class was. And so we want to do it right because students deserve to have that information.
Thank you. Yeah. And if there's interest in this, I'm happy to do like a little brainstorm this summer if people want to get together and share ideas, because I'm sure that I have a lot to learn from all of you all. And I mean, it would just provide a better learning opportunity for all our students to have us kind of talking about the same things. And then when they do go on to their next school, they'll have those tools. So I'm up for that if y'all want to put it together.
Sounds good. Yeah, we would be happy to help you with that, Rosemary. We'd be happy to help put that together, send it out to the groups, and get that set up. Thank you. Excellent work. Congratulations on everything, and thank you for sharing that innovative and super important work for all of us. So next agenda item, as we keep moving through, is item number 5, a discussion on the ACCTEP regional caucuses and regional liaison. So I'd like to turn this over to Cheryl Johnson, who is on our board.
Hey everyone, I'm Cheryl Johnson, Education Instructor at Fresno City College. And first, let me say thank you, Dr. Wren, and congratulations. That's fabulous information. I'll be sharing that with my campus. So I want to talk with you about ACCTEP's efforts to create a community of practice by region. I'm working on a committee, the Community of Practice and Regional Liaison Committee, with my ACCTEP colleagues. So can Kim Sakamoto Stidell and our leader, Liam Martinez, and then also Dr. Batista. Congratulations, he's working with us on that. So we wanted to talk with you about that and share sort of our vision. And I can put up, or someone can put up the document that was shared via email if that would help, so you have a visual to go by.
Sure.
But there has been so much amazing, amazing work by so many people. CCC-TPP, the community of practice that Shannon and Megan shared with us, and the work by ACCTEP that, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic that came upon us, it was just amazing work by everyone coming together statewide. And we also had regions working as well. Of course, as you know, LA and the OC and also the Bay Area have for years been involved in their community of practice. And then also others were pulled in if they had Ed Futures grants or things like that. But this is something that we talked about, introduced last year, but really would like to formalize this year so that we can support the regions that may not have that organization in the other parts of the state. And we would like to hear from them because, as Renee and Steve mentioned, there is so much advocacy work that needs to be done statewide, and so many levels and issues and proposals that are being put forward. So we would like to hear from the regions themselves about their special needs, and then also support those regions in their efforts to work together collaboratively. What we found was that Fieldwork has to deal with CSU articulation agreements. And so sometimes those can vary from CSU to CSU. They might have additional requirements for that. So it's nice when a region can get together. For instance, mine is the Central California region. The vast majority of our students attend Fresno State. So it would be great for us to be able to have those conversations about what Fresno State is requiring or allowing for our students. So that's just one example. So what we'd like to do is present sort of our ideas of what that could look like. There are 7 different regions, and we are wanting a liaison identified for each region to be able to facilitate that communication both to the organization and both back out to the community colleges. So we're proposing just 4 meetings a year for the 2021-22 academic year. And one of those meetings would be at the ACCTEP convening. And the other meetings, of course, would be virtual. And that would be an opportunity for the regional liaisons to be able to share information. And then, of course, we would be able to share out statewide information that gets put out to the regions as well. And so if you scroll down, you'll see that each California community college is represented. Of course, our brand new ones, we need to keep adding to the list. I see Madera Community College needs to be added to that. And as we mentioned, you may be in an area that already has a robust organization going. That's fantastic. But then we can also help support those that don't have sort of a regular, ongoing, continuing vehicle to meet as well. And Steve, is there additional things you'd like to add?
Yeah, so one of my goals, as I shared with the board for ACCTEP, is if we're going to be a statewide organization, we need to have statewide representation. And so 2 things that we've been doing is trying to push membership, and then also try to create this regional caucuses and our liaisons. And so we don't want to burden individuals with more work, but we know you're already working sometimes within your region with your local partners and your community college partners in your areas. And so we just want to formalize that so that we can also share information back and forth with different areas of the state. For example, as these bills move forward and we have information to share, we want to make sure that we have points of contact and in each of the regions who could then point that information back out to their local community colleges in their areas. And so we're not asking for a huge commitment. We're just asking for individuals who would be willing to step up to be their regional liaison for their region, and maybe that can be a shared responsibility among two people. And the responsibility is basically just to meet with the other regional liaisons 4 times a year at the dates that we've suggested, and just to be a conduit of communication that we're already doing. And again, going back to Rosemary's comment, we do better in community. This is to build the community. And so that would be kind of our expectations and our ask today. And I know some of you have already mentioned that you are interested in this or considering it, and we would today. And so if you are willing to commit to being a regional liaison, we would love that. And if I put the document into the chat, it has all the regions on there. If you wouldn't mind just communicating either to myself or someone into the chat that you're willing to step up for your region and be that person, that would be great. And then we want to open up for questions right now too, to see if there's others who have questions.
Steve, I just want to do a quick shout out too. We have a brand new member who's with us right now. Jim from Shasta College shot me an email actually during the meeting asking to be added to the CCC-TPP list. And I said, wait a second, we're in a meeting like right now. So I just want to give a shout out to Jim who joined us today from Shasta. So welcome, Jim. We're in totally inclusive group. And I mean, especially when TPP and ACCEP are coming together. We're just looking to have resources and to increase communication and to really increase our place and our power within these education systems and what we do for our students and what we do for the workforce. So Jim, we're thrilled that you're here today. And everybody who's here, I mean, this is a great opportunity to get involved if you have the ability. Another thing too, and I'm sure Steve will attest to this, if you sign up to lead a caucus and then all of a sudden you realize maybe you don't have the ability to do everything that's expected of you, ACCEP will help you either find a replacement or to find somebody to partner with so that way it's manageable. You know, many of the things that we do are like voluntary on top of all the other things we do. So please know that these are working groups, but Steve is setting them up. Steve and the ACCEP board are setting them up in a way for success and setting up a way to increase our communication across our states and our state and across our systems. So definitely something to consider. And Jim, we're thrilled that you're here today.
Great. Yes, welcome, Jim. Other questions or concerns? I see people stepping up in the chat. We really appreciate that. Well, I'm sure hopefully that Leah and the team are taking notes here. And then, yeah, would be great to be able to connect back to you. And if we're missing a region, we maybe, and you're here today, maybe reach out to you as well to see if you might know if you would be willing to do it or nominating somebody else in your region that could possibly assist with this. Great. Thank you very much. I think we're good. I think it looks like we have a lot of the regions covered. I'm not counting to be sure, but it looks like we have a lot. So really appreciate that, everyone. And then our goal is to, as soon as we have everybody identified, Cheryl, Leah, and Kim will be reaching out for a meeting to that specific group to set those meeting dates for those months. That works for everybody's schedule for the fall semester. Did I miss anything else, Leah or Cheryl?
All good.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so we have a 6 other on the agenda, but I think we should move into the other parts to talk about the professional development. Then we can circle back if anybody else has an other. We'll leave that to the end. So Renee, do you want to go next?
You know it. I'm super excited to share with everybody that we have, we're doing another cross-system conference, which is coming up this fall. I know, Rosemary, I'm so excited too. The brochure is like on my desk to remind me. So this was our brochure from our conference 2 years ago. And this was bringing education systems together to strengthen California's teacher workforce. We did it in Sacramento. We spent about $65,000 doing it. It was when we had funding and, you know, all sorts of stuff going on. Plus we were able to have over 200 people attend a conference for free. That's why it cost us so much. This year, the conference is happening. It's going to be virtual. At this point, we're looking at something really different with the dates. We want to hold the conference at the same time that we did last 2 years ago, which was mid-August, but we're running into a couple different concerns. So I want to let everybody know that we're doing something different, and I hope people can just jump in and kind of accept it and embrace it. So our conference this year is bringing education systems together. And one of the things we're looking at is having the conference split over 2 days. So it would be on Wednesday, August 18th. And then the second day of it is going to be Friday, August 20th. And the rationale for that is we knew we had to keep a Friday for faculty accessibility, but we were also looking at the other dates in the month and we ran into some concerns. So the 19th of August is a Muslim holy day. And the last thing that we're going to do when we're having discussions about equity is host a major statewide event on any religion's holy day. And so we just made a conscious decision that we're going to try something different. We're going to have the first day of the conference be on Wednesday, and then the second day of the conference be on Friday. I've never run a conference before that had a gap day in between, so I don't know what it will entail. But I will tell you that the Bridging Education Systems Conference is going to be across systems. It's going to be many of our community college people, but many of our CSU, our UC, our TK through 12, private institutions. We will also have policy leaders represented at both days. Please know that we are doing a slight difference on this workshop or on this conference this year that I want to be really explicit with you. I was honored to be the facilitator of the last conference we did back in 2019, but it's a very powerful message when you're looking at the people who are representing your education system for the state. And it's one male after the next going up to the podium. And many of the men that are representing our systems are men of color, but it's primarily men. And so we talked about this a lot because that sends a message. That sends a message to me being a 47-year-old woman that maybe I can't end up on that stage one day. And so I'm sorry, we need to start really looking at this from all angles. So we've made a conscious decision that this year, this conference is going to focus on women in education. We've already talked to Sarah Neville Morgan from Department of Education, and if it works with her schedule, she's interested in being involved. This week, I talked to Rianne, who is the CEO of NAEYC. I said, if you have capacity, we'd love to have you at this conference. And she wrote back the next day and said, hey, let's talk. So I'm just hopeful that we're going to have some really key players like we did last time when we ran the conference in 2019. Our Chancellor Eloy was there, and Eloy Oakley, and we had Vice Chancellor Shinny Weber. We had representation from Department of Ed. We had Linda Darling Hammond was given an award. We had Tony Thurman from TK through 12. We had Tim White from the CSU system and Marquita. So we really tried to have a lot of heavy hitters from our education system coming together. That's the whole point. So it's going to be a little different. It's not going to be so much. There's going to be some pieces where it'll be our people talking about teacher preparation, but a lot of it will be policy as well. Save the dates. We will try to have everything recorded as much as possible. So if you have any conflict, especially with those, I agree with you, Rosemary, we should absolutely ask Daisy if she can be involved too. But if you have any conflict with that Wednesday, the 18th, I apologize. I know many of you will be teaching, but we'll try to do programming spread out as much as possible. So maybe you can pop in for a little bit of the day. And we will make sure we record as much as possible as well. So that way you can engage just in a different format. But for this year, it's going to be virtual. We have no budget. Well, I shouldn't say that. We have a little bit of means for finances, but we're going to try and keep things as reasonable as possible. Everything will be totally free for anybody who attends. And if anybody is interested in being involved in the planning of this, please let me know. It will involve a few meetings this summer, but it's an inclusive group. If you want to be involved in it, let me know. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And it gives us a really nice platform. It's really going to be a great thing. And so I'm looking forward to it. We have support from many of our campuses and people are really excited about it. I do want to let you know though, I try to always operate as a super inclusionary kind of person. This is one event where I'm not totally inclusionary. The committee will determine who will be going forward and who we will have as our presenters. And it's not going to be as much as everybody can kind of chime in and say what they want, or everybody can say, hey, I want to do a session. It's not going to be that flexibility that we often have with our other conferences. But the word is out. If people want to come and have your voices heard, or if you have opinion or whatnot, I'll put my email in the chat. If you can join us, please. Either if you're part of planning, great. If not, no worries. But if you want to be involved, I'll put my email in the chat, and we'd love to have you there. Save the date. It's going to be a lot of fun. Great networking too. Oh, I should also put a quick plug in too, Steve. CCC AOE is happening face-to-face in fall. It is a conference that usually happens in Sacramento in spring, and it happens in Palm Springs area in fall. And so the fall conference is happening face-to-face and virtual. There's two options. So TPP will be hosting a party suite at the CCC AOE conference. I don't mean to be cheesy, you guys. I've been waiting 2 years. I asked 2 years ago, and because of that stupid pandemic, we didn't get to do it. So we're officially holding a party and a social at this conference. And so once I have all the dates and everything, we'll share it with everybody, and hopefully you can come. And we usually present quite a bit at that conference as well. In spring, we had 5 sessions that we did. So it should be robust, and we'll make sure we share it as everything gets finalized. So.
Awesome. Sounds like amazing opportunities. I love that it's going virtual. I think it makes it easier for people to participate. And so it's the sign of our times. And until we can fully get back and feel fully safe about being everywhere, planning for something in person is difficult. We're making the same decision about our conference that we'll talk about in just a second as well. So I also wanted to invite everyone to our event next Friday, May 26th. Part of our ACCEP speaker series, we have excellent faculty members sharing about their curriculum pathways that they have developed for special education, for dual enrollment, for elementary, secondary, and special ed. And so we invite you to be a part of that meeting on Friday. Can someone drop or afterwards I can drop the link into the chat as well. My goal here is a couple of things. One is to have our exemplary program share about their pathways, but the second hour will really be about a discussion. And this is leading me to one of my other goals as the ACCEP president is to really push the envelope and try to create policy recommendations related to the undergraduate pathways in teacher education to the powers that be. And these conversations related to the connection between early childhood and K through 12 are all part of those discussions because they all link up to how we prepare teachers at the undergraduate level. So the first hour of our session will be these excellent programs sharing about their pathways. And then the second hour will be small breakouts where we can begin talking about challenges and successes that we have in preparing teachers in all the different areas. And then my hope is to curate that information that we gather into some themes around curriculum pathways that need to get addressed and create those themes into maybe some policy recommendations moving forward as that we can support as part of ACCEP and others who want to participate with us in trying to advance the message into other stakeholder groups. One of those groups is the CCTE, which is the Cal Council for Teacher Education, which ACCEP is an affiliated member with. And so CCTE is the Directors of Teacher Ed. They are the commission is part of that group. They are teacher education faculty at CSU, UC, and independent colleges. And so my goal is to try and use that platform and that position to be able to help drive some of these policy recommendations forward in ways that get stuff done. I'm like Rosemary, I just finished my dissertation. It was on these issues. I'm really hot about wanting to push the agenda to try to make some things happen for our programs and for our state that really focus on the needs of our programs and community college students in general. And so I'm trying to ramp up and build the capacity to be able to do that. And so with everyone's help to do all of that work. And so the meeting on the seminar series or speaker series on May 26th will start that work, and we'll hope you can participate in that as well. May 26th, a Wednesday. Yes, it is a Wednesday. What did I say, Friday? Yeah, that's a end of the year. I'm dragging error. So yes, Wednesday the 26th. Thank you. The next item on is similar to the conference planning that Renee is doing. We are also looking forward to our fall 21 convening date. And we have a tentative date of Friday, the 19th of November. That's been our typical time, the second or third Friday in November. And it'll be pretty similar format, we're thinking, virtual, 9 to 2-ish, really focusing on professional development for the field in specific topic areas, but we are open at this point. We don't have a theme, we don't have a topic, specific topics, and we are looking for folks who want to join us in that endeavor. So if you are interesting to be a part of our planning committee, we welcome that. We have actually a meeting set up on the, maybe one of my colleagues on the board, Kim, what's the date that we have the meeting set up already?
Thursday, July 9th from 9 to 10 a.m. And I put a link in the chat. So if you'd like to just find out what ACTEP's about and be a part of that planning session, we'd love to have you. It's July 9th.
Yep, July 9th. So be a part of us. Come and listen, participate. I mean, it'll be a virtual meeting. You can do it from your phone and from the beach, wherever you're going to be at on July the 9th. We just like to have your ideas and your conversation. So, and your ideas about how we might be able to, provide a really good conference and convening for the field. Okay, so yeah, so let us know if you're interested. Click on the link or just put it in the chat and we will connect with you. And then the final one is just another announcement regarding the fall conference for CCTE. Again, I know that several of us have been a part of that group or have joined that group. They're very, very interested in working with the community colleges in the teacher education pathways. And so I found them very inclusive. They want us, that group, CCT itself, Cal Council on Teacher Education, to represent the entire system of higher education in California, preparing teachers. And so I encourage you to participate in their conference. They're usually in San Diego, but they are currently thinking about either a hybrid model or something that might be just virtual at this point in time. Okay, and then last two updates here, right straight to the finish line here. Membership, as I shared earlier, membership is really, really important to us. We want members to represent the colleges and represent our state. And so we have an offer that continues. It's free to new members. If you have not been a member of ACTEP, it's free. It's like the HBO 1 month trial period. We're giving away 1 year free trial periods to ACTEP. If you are a returning member, if you already have and you need a renewal, we are giving you a buy one, get one. So if you renew your subscription or your membership with ACTEP, institutional or individual, we will extend that for a second year at no cost. So we definitely want to grow our body and our membership on all the good work that we're doing.
Steve, I want to put a plug in here because that's a great thing to ask your campus with any leftover monies that are going to happen in.
Yes.
If suddenly you're like, oh, hey, can I have a couple $100 for this? Or I want to sign up 2 people on campus or whatever. That's a perfect time of the year for the ask. So if you haven't asked yet, this is a great time to just ask, hey, do we have a little bit of money so I can join this, this statewide organization for my industry sector? So please don't be shy, everybody.
Thanks, Renee. Yes.
I think I'm the last one, actually, Steve. So Teach for we have the recording link that we have on the agenda. I'm going to plop just a few things in the chat. It's going to seem like a lot at once. I apologize, but it's just about for access if people are interested. So I am putting in right now a PowerPoint presentation that I just did this morning. I see that Bernadette has a membership question about ACTEP. So why don't you go ahead? I'm sorry that I didn't see your hand sooner, my friend. Why don't you go ahead and ask? Keep dropping in the chat.
Oh, ask the question in the chat or verbally? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Verbally,
yes.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. So I am, I just finished my first year faculty at San Joaquin Delta College. And so thank you. And so I was very excited very early during that, those first couple of months. I got something forwarded to me from someone else and said, oh, take a look at this. And so I was really excited, saw it, and instantly reached out to my dean to see if we can get an institutional membership, and we did. So that's how I've been a member this year. And so this is great because this is the first actual time that I've had a meeting where I'm able to see all of you and hear from you. So glad, because I feel like this is going to be another academic home for me. Question about membership. Since our college has joined and I'm named as one of the 2 people on our membership, is there an automatic renewal that will be sent to our dean secretary who paid for the membership this first time, or should I be getting something from you to forward to her each year? I just want to make sure that I smooth that process so that it happens naturally and not miss.
Yes. Yes, great question. Yes, so we're in the process. The board just talking about that yesterday about setting up our membership renewals. So you'll get a letter from us inviting you for a renewal, invoice, all those kinds of things that you can then forward to use. Yes.
Great. So it'll come to me. Perfect. So I'll look for that. Okay. I just want to make sure I don't want the time frame to lapse. So I'll look, and if I don't hear anything, then I'll send some emails and ask for it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you for asking.
Steve, I see a second hand actually. Nadia, do you want to go ahead and ask? I see your hands up.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think that must still be from last time. I will lower my hand.
It's all good. I love looking at your childcare center. Every time I see your, oh, I want to go back. Like I feel like home whenever I see your picture. Literally, I love it. Her center looks a lot like my center. So, okay. So Teach for LA, I just want to share with everybody. We just concluded the Teach for LA virtual conference series. We did it a little bit differently this time, but we have a ton of recordings of really awesome sessions that we want to share with you. The first week of May, we had the conference, and or actually technically it might have been the second week, but we ended up having 37 sessions over 4.5 days. We did programming the first 4 days of the week from 8 a.m. till some of the days we went till 8:30 p.m. We had over 1,000 people register with the conference. And they are coming from all over the place. If you're a data person, check out our surveys and some of the stuff I just put in the chat. We ended up, this was the best survey amount of surveys I've ever gotten in a conference. So we had over 1,000 people registered. Everybody, we had 250 surveys fully filled out from everybody. We have so much juicy data right now, I can't even tell you. Anyways, check it out if you have a chance. Teach for LA was impactful. I'm glad to hear that students enjoyed it. Thank you, Rosemary, for saying that. We had some great feedback from faculty who attended as well. We did a faculty day on Wednesday of that week. And so the sessions that day were intentionally created for faculty, but we're also all teacher future teachers were allowed to go as well. It was really a great, great week. And so we will be constructing another Teach for LA for fall of 2021. It'll happen again. And I want to let you know that for any of you who are doing fieldwork classes right now, we went through and on the schedule for Teach for LA, it also says this is a credentialed teacher. This workshop is led by a credentialed teacher. So these are even some workshops that you can then put into your EDU class that could, potentially work for fieldwork. And so there's also some great workshops by early childhood leaders as well, and some nonprofits. I love that somebody said Yadira's closing keynote was amazing. If you did not watch Yadira's keynote, you want to, because Yadira is a leader in our system, but she started out as an undocumented student who came from another country when she was 7 years old. And so her story, and they made her repeat grades twice because she didn't have the English language. When you hear Yadira's story, you're just reminded why we do what we do every single day. And so please make sure you check it out as well. There's some great, great videos and recordings. On the slides that I sent to you, there is one slide within that deck that has the list of here are the recordings. Here's another link with recordings and all slide decks. I'm trying to think what else. There's like 2 or 3 more resources on that page. And so please make sure you click through everything so you can get to that resource page. But thank you to everybody who participated. Thank you to everybody who put it out to your students. And if people want to be involved in in fall, it's specifically for the LA region, but it really, we impacted campuses across the state. And so if anybody wants to be involved, please let me know, because we'd love to have you involved. Thanks so much, Steve, for allowing me to talk for a minute about it. Oh, I also want to give a shout out to our keynote at the start of the week was Lisa Wilson, who is an equity leader. She is the equity director for 0 to 3, and she's also the co-founder of the Coalition for Anti-Racism Education with Kim Barker and some of our other colleagues who are on right now. And so anyways, Lisa's keynote was also very powerful. And just if you can't see anything else, check out the keynotes from Monday and Friday of the sessions. So thanks so much, everybody. It was a great time, and I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Yeah, amazing. The Teach for LA are just amazing. I do a Rota teaching conference every year, but this is like to scale. It's amazing. Teach for the Bay, all those were amazing. And I have to share this personal story with you about Yadira's keynote. So I've been working with an intern, someone who's been trying to become a community college faculty member for about 1.5 years now. And she actually ended up meeting Yadira through the dual enrollment course that she teaches with Cal State Dominguez Hills. and she took that course to prepare herself to become an online teacher or dual enrollment teacher. And then she actually was so moved by the story that she reached out to Yadira. And then she saw the keynote, and that blew her away. And that really has put her, because it resonates so closely with her own story, that it then has put her on a trajectory now to really go after becoming a faculty member. She actually has an interview now that she's preparing for at El Camino College, where Yadira works. So it's pretty cool. So it's pretty amazing, yeah. So it's such a powerful, the work that you do to put those things on. You don't know, like, the individual who's sitting in the Zoom who's going to be like the most impacted by it and what that's going to do in the future, but amazing work. So congratulations.
Steve, I love that you mentioned the interviewing. I did a session on interviewing at the conference, and I already had somebody contact me, and I coached her this week. She went out for a spot on one of our campuses just yesterday for a full-time position. So if you know anybody who needs help in that area, you know, what we're finding is that people don't always have resources. Who do you talk to when you want to get a new job? You can't talk to your current boss, and you can't practice with them. And so anyways, if we can be of help in that area, let us know. And we'll definitely roll some more out in the next Teach for LA. With the voices of the field have told us they want more on resumes and also more on the interviewing of what TK through 12 and early childhood are specifically looking for when they interview. So this is great. Thanks, Steve.
Yep, thanks. Yeah, we've reached the end now. We have a space. We have 13 minutes to either give back to you as time for your day or opportunities to share anything else that you have on your mind. Again, we really appreciate everyone being here today, and the opportunities to share, and just and we know, again, knowing what time of year this is.
Peggy has her hand raised.
Yes, Peggy.
Oh, Peggy just leaned over. Now she has to unmute herself.
Sorry, yeah. Hi, everyone. I'll try to be quick. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I work at Fullerton College, and we are trying to expand our teacher prep program. So we did one cohort historically, and now we're optimistically trying to expand to 2. So we have about 37 applicants. We're trying to get closer to 50. So if you could help us share with any, the only requirements are just that they would be incoming students. So first-year college students. And what's wonderful is that they get to take a career in teaching class and get a lot of really wraparound support, and our students are very successful, but it's a little harder for us in this remote environment to do the outreach that we historically do. So if you could help in the plug, we'd appreciate that. I put our little flyer in the chat somewhere.
I was going to ask if we could have a flyer, because you know what's so cool? I have a brand new listserv of over 1,000 people in the LA region who are interested in teacher preparation, my friend.
Awesome.
So if you'd like your flyer to go out, just shoot me an email, because I have another flyer I'm going to send. So why not send both of them? You know what I mean? So if you could get it to me maybe before the weekend, then I can wait on another one. And yeah, I saw you said
I have it right here in the chat. Does that work, or you also want me to email it to you?
I'm going to be realistic. Can you also?
I'll email it to you. Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much.
I will try to pull it, but just in case I can't, I don't want to miss it.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Kathleen, congratulations. It's awesome. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
I'd like to say, while Peggy was still on there, because I was just looking at, and I was talking to somebody else about this topic. I just put in the chat the link to the locator map that we have on the statewide site. If you look at it and let me know if maybe I should add you to the contacts. Like, for instance, right now, Fullerton, there's only one person listed. It's Tom, and I don't want to try to pronounce his last name. It's a lot of consonants.
Paramonte, yeah.
Okay, there you go. So he's the only one listed, and I can list multiple people. I can, put so on some colleges it has like the person's name, and then it'll say CTE dean or ECE faculty or whoever it is, and then I list their emails and the URL. Right now it's the child development URL for Fullerton College. So if there's another one you want me to list, just email me, let me know. I can add those contacts to the map, because I know that lots of colleges have, ECE in one department, EDU in a different department. So there might be more than one contact that should be listed. So just let me know and I can update that map.
Okay, that would be wonderful. I just put my info there, but I will work on emailing it.
Okay,
out to
great.
people.
Yeah.
Thank you. That'd be great.
I have the chat saved, so.
Yeah, I was able to pull it from the chat too, so I have it.
You're so resourceful. I appreciate that. Even on a Friday.
But just so everybody knows though, we've got different platforms that if you have things you want to get out, we can put it on social media, we can put it on LinkedIn, we can put it on our website, so we're happy to do that. It's all about working smarter, right, everybody? Working smarter. That's what this is about.
100%. 100%. We don't need more work, that's for sure. We don't need to work harder. That is for sure.
Way in colleagues, you just need some support in what we do. This is not the field to be siloed, not if you're going to stay in it for the long run.
Looks like there's a request for your email, Bobby.
Yeah, I misspelled my last name, but I put it in there.
Okay.
It's spelled correctly in the email, but not where I was typing my actual name.
Okay, we need to say this to everybody. That's Bobby, and she doesn't have stuff. Don't think her name is Roberta. Don't write her back and say, hi, Becca. People look at her email and write her incorrectly all the time. So that's Bobby Becca. Don't forget her.
Becca is a surname. It's not a first name. Yeah, but my email is rbecca@elcamino.
So I think we're 8 minutes early, which is a blessing for all of us who are getting ready to go into the next meeting, which I know some of us will be on Peach, Tri-C, TPP, OER coming up at 1 o'clock. I don't know if ACTEP also has another meeting at 1, Steve, but.
Nope, that's a wrap for us for the weekend. So again,
we're going back.
Thank you, everybody. It was great seeing you all. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good one.
You can stop recording.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I'll see you guys later.